It's crazy, bro, that how much how much stuff happened within this year, you know? And cuz I remember that Memorial Day weekend like it was yesterday, right? Like we were listening to well, I was watching the versus battle, Beanie Man Bounty Killer. I was watching that fondly, and I remember watching that battle, and it was like the first battle where the two artists were together in the same room, and there was a lot of camaraderie amongst the people, right? Because we finally had something that was greater than ourselves, and we didn't know um, how deadly this thing was. So everyone was locked up, and the versus battle came around, and everyone started to have this camaraderie, and we were all inside, and everyone was together. Like everyone would like they would make noise at 7 p.m. for all of the essential workers, for all the health workers, for all the essential workers as well, but specifically the health workers. Um, and then, man, the freaking weekend happened, and freaking Amy Cooper called the cops on homie for just bird watching at Central Park and telling her to just keep her dog leashed. And then right after that, we've
She's
witnessed
suing the state because no, she's suing her old company.
Amy Cooper
For
suing the company.
her
Why?
her old company that fired her.
What suing her for what though? For what, emotional distress or something? Or
I'm no, just firing her off the grounds of social media.
oh, what? Well,
It's
that
funny you
isn't
brought
like
her up. It just happened like a couple hours ago. That's why I
oh
brought it up.
really?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I think she does have a case, though. I think she does have a case with that.
No, you don't.
You
She
know?
doesn't have a case. They can fire you on anything. Read your contracts, bro. Whatever you sign, read your contracts.
Oh,
Literally
if
says
that's what the contract said, then yes, because I remember in working Five Guys, they had a contract saying, yeah, we can fire you for anything
yeah.
because the
Right.
sky's blue. But if Amy if
Sky's
they had
blue.
if they have that contract too that they gave Amy, I know a lot of companies do, but if they have that, then yes. If they don't, then you might have something. But anyways, yeah, like I said, the Amy Cooper thing happened, and then that same day or the next day, we witnessed what we witnessed, and that's when everything shifted. That's when everything changed, and we've seen protests. We've seen protests break out to riots. We've seen global outpour. We've seen global support, global protests. We've seen everyone with their opinion on social media. And then we saw scapegoating, of course, and we've seen um, white people doing what white people do, and that's shifting shifting the conversation, the real conversation, into something else, something that has nothing to do with the initial conversation. um yeah, I just think it's just crazy how time flies, man, because next week it's going to be June already. Like we're already halfway through the year, and it's crazy because it just feels like all of this stuff legit just happened yesterday.
Yeah. And I do know what you mean. Especially the conversations and how the media portrayed everything, and something we said a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the case. Um, it's all about how the media handles the story because we will perceive it one way, especially if it's just happening. Then a week after we have more information, then we definitely understand what happened, right?
Hmm.
But then you have to look at how the media will take the story and kind of wrap it around and change it halfway through. But for this situation, because of the footage was out, it's not like it was a body cam footage that they held for a couple months and released it and
Right.
gave it to the media first and released to everybody else so they could create the story out of it. It was just a full clip. Very painful to watch. And you can't ignore what you saw. You can't ignore it. There's no way where you could say that, oh, if you did this better, this something would happen. It's like just impossible. If you were saying that, then you're just ignoring the fact and you weren't empathetic at all. You just don't care.
Exactly. It was very concrete of this is very cut and dry right here. So much so that a lot of right wingers they couldn't come up with anything. They were like, yeah, he does that did not deserve to even go down, or that cop deserves to be fired like 100%. 100%. And it seemed like at first, everyone was again together on this too, but of course, we saw what we saw. But I think that was a mixture of a lot of factors too, a lot of things, right? I don't think it was only just because of that video where the protests took place and the amount of people that showed up. I think it was due to a lot of things too. I think it was due to the fact that it's becoming it was like around summertime already. I count Memorial Day weekend for summer, so
Hmm.
sue me. It's been 90 degrees the past couple of weeks anyways. But I always say like once it gets hot, like there's always like some sort of chemical balance that goes on in people's head where we get a little bit crazy. Not gonna lie, there's a little bit of craze in the air, but also the fact that there's this pandemic going on. Everyone is at home. No one's working. And it was summertime, bruh. Something was bound to happen, and so that's why you saw what you were able to see. And that's why there was this global protest as well, because everyone was at home.
Yeah, and they couldn't ignore it. It was
Could not
very
ignore it.
easy to walk outside and you'll be part of a protest. Easy, the understatement, kind of depending on where you are. If we're from New York City, so we could just walk outside. Barclays, not too far away from the station. Bam,
Yeah,
protesting there, and there's always a protest in that area as well.
definitely.
To this day, but yeah, 1 year since all that happened, and I think it's important for people to know. It's like it's not like George Floyd was a martyr. He's not
Not
like
at all.
he was fighting. He was fighting for his life, and they killed him. And people using him as like, yeah, he kind of no, he died for this. Like, no, no,
No,
that's not what happened.
he just wanted to get something from the store, bruh. That was it.
He was trying to survive, and I think that's it. All kind of plays into how the media, here I go again talking about the media, controls the narrative of the story, and they're really controlling his narrative now a year later, talking about him as a martyr.
Do you feel like the media is whitewashing George Floyd
No,
or the idea of George Floyd?
no, I don't think so. It's more of a liberal perspective, if
Hmm.
anything. I don't think whitewashing would be the proper terminology. Or it could be, depending on how you look at it. I think they were just reformatting the story to kind of fit their perspective, because you could say this and not have any type of police reform, right? They could, like, you talk to every senator, you talk to every congresswoman, congressman, everybody, right? And they will be aware and they'll acknowledge everything that happened on that day. And okay, what's next? What's the next steps? Like, police reform is very important. Oh, you don't like the term defund the police. All right, you don't like the term. Straight up do something then, right? Because that was the problem. They said like, oh, the Democrats were losing a lot of supporters because of the defund the police. Like, that's not true. That's not true. Like, everybody dislikes the police. Like we had multiple conversations about, like, even poor white people hate the police because how
Yeah.
they're treated in their situations. So you can't say that, it's that's just like about like public perception at one point in time. So when you say that it's whitewashed, no, but I think they did change the story to kind of fit their narrative, where they no longer have to say like, oh, it's versus a bad apple versus like, we don't have to do police reform, or defunding the police won't help anybody. That's
Mm.
what I think. It's a good question, good perspective. I think this is something that we'll kind of see, especially during the Biden administration.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the reason why I asked this as well, because I feel like um there's always been this controlling of history, right? And how we write history and how we want history to be told, right? So like for example, Martin Luther King, whenever it's Martin Luther King Day, he's just always the guy who had a dream, right? Where he was way more complex than that. He was the guy who within his last years of life said, "Hey, once I made that dream, I felt like I integrated my people in this burning building, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's not it's of course like race is a thing, but it's also a classism thing as well. And then of course MLK was very complex as well, right? He was a dude who, for one, he was the face of the civil rights movement, but my man was out here slanging like Martin Luther King had mad girlfriends. Martin Luther King
What
was
are you
he
talking
was
about, bro?
wilding. Oh, I was
I know
watching
what you're
this
talking about.
documentary.
Like, what are you getting at?
No, but I was saying, for George Floyd, right? The narrative was like, oh, George Floyd, he was this,
Oh, okay. I see where
yeah,
you're getting at.
he was this guy, and George Floyd died for this, and George Floyd is, yeah, where what you basically said, he's like this martyr, he's this political figure, when in actuality he was just a dude, man. He just went to the store, he tried to buy something. The
Yeah,
bill might have been fake, and then the cop that he knew freaking put a knee down on him for 9 minutes. Like, that's it. Like, he was just a person, wrong place, wrong time. Like, that's the honest, true story of George Floyd. But then, he just became like the poster child, the figurehead, you know?
and I think it's hurtful for the
Yeah.
family too. And like the family was just with Biden, went to the White House and everything, and they turned that into the little photo shoot. You know how liberals be on both ends.
Hmm.
It's always painful to see, especially years from now too. So we look 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We could look back and it's like, yeah, whatever happens in the future, I still think police reform is super necessary.
Hmm.
Defunding the police is super necessary because all that money, it's like, hey, there's a lot of things that should be funded. And we're from New York City, and there's a million things that need to be funded. And we look
That's true.
outside, it's like schools the number one thing. We went to our public schools, went to college, and it's like we still didn't learn much. We kind of had to grind our way to understand things within society. It would have been
Yeah,
much easier if we had the education about it in high school, right?
definitely high school. I agree with high
High
school.
school, high school was a flop. My Bastion's flop era was high school, but
Mm.
but yeah, that's what I mean. It's all about the future and what they're going to do from this point on. That's kind of why we talk to make sure we hold these people accountable.
Accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that talked about the police too, because there are some changes happening with the police. And I don't know if you know this, Bastion, but there's been a lot of police officers that have been retiring early because they don't want to deal with any of this stuff that's going on too. But like, it's gotten so bad where people don't even want to be police officers anymore, that the test that you have to take to be police officers, like especially here, like in New York City, like those tests are now free because
Where
no one wants to be police officers
did you have
anymore.
to pay for them before
You had to pay for them before, yeah.
to take the test?
Yeah, to take the test, you had
Okay,
to pay.
I like that CT.
Hmm. But now that those numbers are decreasing and no one wants to become police officers, they're offering those tests for free now. So I think that's interesting too, where the effect of everything that's been happening, right? Um, just cause and effect.
They could have a negative outpour with the lack of community people policing,
Hmm.
but like we gotta police the police at the same time. But it kind of goes back to like where most people from NYPD come from. Like they're not from the city.
Yeah,
Like
that
they're
is
from
true.
outside. So like, but they're
They're
so
from
busy now,
state.
they want to stay outside. So it's very interesting to kind of look at that. The system within itself is broken and should be completely dismantled and
True.
rebuilt into something else. But as of right now, nothing is going to happen. And I think either next week or the week after next week, we should have a discussion about the mayoral candidates leading into people voting for the top five candidates.
Mhm.
Then after that, we're gonna have like it was at the primary. Choose your top five. Then they
Yeah.
will be able to campaign until election day
Word.
for mayor of New York City.
But also, Bastion, with the police as well, right? There's certain like schools that are canceling like the contracts for police officers to be in the schools. And I believe, don't quote me on this though, I believe for the Pride Parade, they don't want the police there.
Really,
Yeah, man, you can look that one up. I'll re-look that one up just to make sure.
very interesting. I think they have to be there due to like permit and float, right? Like once you
I
have a
do
float, you
too.
need permit.
I do too. But
Oh,
let me just
wait,
read
every time we're at the Parkway was for Labor Day, right?
Labor Day. Yeah,
Labor
yeah.
Day weekend.
Right.
They're there because of the floats.
Hmm.
Then
But
they're arresting people. If they were, then it's gonna turn up. That's why they had to cut Labor Day into like a to like what a
yeah,
4 day
June
event
and all that.
for
Yeah,
to a 1 day. Like too many people were getting killed.
too many people were getting killed. But see, for me though, when it comes to that that parade, right? Especially, you know what they do? They bring in all the Caribbean cops. I don't know if you were there well, not last year, the year before.
I was there, yeah.
All the Caribbean cops were there. And I was thinking, yo, where the hell are y'all at? Because whenever I'm around the community, it's all you know. It's people that look like they're not from the neighborhood. But when it's the Caribbean parade and all that, when it's the Labor Day parade, y'all want to chef out all the Caribbean cops, man. I appreciate that.
I like to say it's coincidence, but I don't think so. I kind of you brought that up 2 years ago
I
when we were
did
walking
because that
around,
irked me because I
and
noticed it.
I noticed it too. I was like, hmm, funny, funny how
Oh yeah, yeah, they did ban him. I'm reading New York Times. Yeah, they banned him.
they officially
Officially banned him.
very interesting. Well, they can't do that for Juve though.
Nah, don't do that for Juve. Are we even gonna get Juve this year? I
Yeah,
mean, if
we
I
definitely getting it, hundred
oh,
percent.
we gonna dude, you want to go?
I have no idea, but let's
Hey,
see
you
what's up.
should let them know though. You should let your job know you are a Caribbean man, and it should be required
Labor Day is off,
to get
bro.
those days off. All right, cool. I'm just saying, man. Like, I'm just saying, it's just off GP general principle.
You're right. I never had a job that allowed me to have Labor Day off
Real?
without
Oh
taking
yeah,
off.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
thinking about
this
it.
is America. Every other country in the world will allow you to have Labor Day off, but
Mhm.
not this one.
You know, it's crazy because the when I used to work at Five Guys, I let them know off rip, hey, Labor Day, I need that off, please. I'm a Caribbean man. Like I just need that day off. And they always gave that to me
Yeah,
off.
you asked for it. Yeah,
True.
I don't have the same care as you do because I'm like a workaholic. I just work all year round. But yeah, yeah, that's how it be sometimes.
Word. I feel you.